talk about the upset forecast for week 10 of the college football season. A lot of sneaky ones here. I don't know if there's any that are jumping out and that are like, hey, red alert, upset, but it's always the quiet ones. Always the quiet ones. We got a lot of big-time matchups here, a lot of blockbusters, but underneath the surface, somewhere else across the slate, there's going to be some upsets, so where might they be? The first place I'm looking is Penn State at Maryland. Maryland's an 8.5-point dog. Penn State, last week now, they didn't look great against Indiana. And you kind of attribute that to the way that they played Ohio State tough the week before, and maybe they're out of gas. My question is, have they refueled? Have they filled that gas tank back up? Because if they haven't, Maryland is going to score points. They're averaging over 30 a game right now. And Penn State hosts Michigan next week. So you don't have the luxury now to look ahead, because with Maryland, what they have within this offense, with Taulia Tagovailoa playing quarterback for them, he's what I like to call a game plan breaker. Meaning, when you have a dual threat quarterback who can run, who can pass, anytime he gets out on the edge and he kind of breaks contain, and it's a new play, if you will, you better be on your P's and Q's and make sure you're plastering to your receiver on the back end. Because if you don't, you try and come up and tackle him, he's going to throw it over your head. And if you try and turn your back and just stick to your man, he's going to run for a first down. So he kind of puts you between a rock and a hard place there, does Taulia Tagovailoa. They also just had a bad loss to Northwestern. Backed into a corner are the Terps right now. Nothing more dangerous than a Terp backed into a corner. He's going to find his way to fight out. So keep an eye on that one. Again, 8.5-point dog. We'll see. Penn State better find a way to generate some offensive juice, because if they don't, Maryland's going to make that very, very interesting. Here's another one right down the road from us. Auburn at Vanderbilt. Little homecoming special for the boys at Vandy, huh? 12.5-point dog at the crib. Now, speaking of generating offense, Auburn, they've had some issues now. Now, they beat Mississippi State last week. That's a great win. But November of last year is when the Commodores got to work. Beat Kentucky, beat Florida. I wonder what they have up their sleeve for this November. Now, I would also say this is my real concern when it comes to the upset factor here. Young teams, and I mean young in the sense of they haven't been together for a very long time with this staff and all the transfer portal pieces. There's a tendency there to take your eye off the ball and not treat every single team the same. And we're all aligned here. Like Vanderbilt, I think Clark Lee's doing some great stuff over there. They may not have the same attention of Auburn as maybe a Alabama would. I think that's fair to say. So, if Will Shepard, the receiver for Vanderbilt, is able to go in this game, last I checked, he was questionable. If he plays in this game, he's one of those players that's good enough to take over the whole game. That's how good he is. Keep an eye on this one. If Auburn wants to kind of sleepwalk their way into Nashville, they see the construction and it's Vanderbilt and all these different narratives going through their head, Vanderbilt is sneaky enough and gritty enough, and I think at some spots talented enough to make it very, very interesting. So keep that one on your radar when it comes to the upset forecast. Now, we went deep in the bag for this next upset forecast. Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, baby, playing guess who? The South Carolina Gamecocks. So we got the Gamecock Bowl, plus 15.5 is Jacksonville State. South Carolina, big effort against A&M. We talk about this a lot with college football teams as a whole. Sometimes you give a great effort the week before, you trot out there, and you find out, hey, fuel level's a little bit low. Is South Carolina all the way dialed in, or are they seeing Jacksonville State and saying, oh, thank goodness, we're glad to see you here? I don't know, but Jacksonville State, they do a phenomenal job taking it away. They're averaging almost 2 takeaways a game. Now, Spencer Rattler, God bless him, he's been great recently in terms of taking care of the football throughout the course of this season, but you've seen it now a couple times. You've seen he tries to make something happen that's not there. To be honest, it's pretty much been the Spencer Rattler effort this entire season offensively for South Carolina. They've had some other guys step up. Xavier Legette obviously deserves a ton of credit. I'm sure they would love to have Juice Wells the entirety of this season, but Spencer Rattler's kind of been the guy to make this all happen for South Carolina. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. When you feel weight on your shoulders, you try and overextend. If you overextend and turn the ball over, well, then we're watching the ticker and saying, turn on Jacksonville State right now. You're going through Twitter and saying, and seeing me tweet, emergency TV channel change alert. Jacksonville State, South Carolina is tied going into the fourth quarter. That's a reality that could be possible. I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying there's a formula here. There's a scenario where that could be the case. Now, this was one that I wasn't sure I wanted to put on here when it came to the upset forecast. I really went back and forth on this one. And so we're going to ride the fence here as much as humanly possible. but it's Florida State at Pitt. And the note that I have here is I wonder about this game. So I don't know if it's on the upset forecast. It's probably, if you're treating it like a weather forecast, it's probably one of those clouds that's way off in the distance. I think the word they use is cells. One of those cells way off in the on the distance, and you're checking it out. We've seen Pitt be scrappy. Now, were they scrappy last week against Notre Dame? Absolutely not. But they beat a good Louisville team, and I think Pat Narduzzi is one of the more underrated coaches in college football. But the reason why I'm so hesitant to really lean towards Pitt as making a real upset effort is Pat Narduzzi, I don't think did anything to endear the locker room to him last week when he talked about, as a college football head coach, you lose good players, and we think we're going to replace those good players, and we haven't done a good job doing that. Now, if you check the Twitter sphere when it came to Pitt football players, they were not having any of that. A lot of quote tweets. A lot of, are you kidding me? A lot of me, is this serious? A lot of me, nah, did I read that right? Like, that was kind of the sentiment, the spirit of what was the response to Pat Narduzzi's post-game press conference. So we'll see where they're at. We'll see where they're at as a locker room. But again, just as a pure football team and the way that they've played at this point in the year outside of that Notre Dame game, I think they're sneaky. Very, very sneaky, very, very gritty. And the thing with Florida State, too, as talented as they are, as high as I am on Florida State, I wonder just a little bit if they're not going to play down to their competition like we've seen them do at times this season. The big thing for Florida State in this game, can they run the football? Pitt, a 3-touchdown dog in Pittsburgh, we'll see. Again, I probably don't feel strongly enough about this game to really say, hey, watch this one for an upset, but it's something that I just thought we should throw out there by nature of what we've seen Florida State do and what we've seen Pitt do to this point in the year. So that's kind of the upset forecast, if you will, to this point when it comes to Week 10. It's always going to be somewhere across the slate. It's a matter of where can we find them. We've been pretty good this year about having a gauge for the upset forecast, but Week 10 should be no different. If it's not these games, it'll be somewhere across your Saturday. Really quickly, Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. Okay, phenomenal way to enjoy your Saturday afternoon whenever you're watching a college football game. If you just want to maybe have a little bit more of a enhanced viewing experience, put some Prize Picks plays in there, and we'll have a good time. Here's what we got baked for this upcoming Saturday. Kind of got it in the oven, letting it cook a little bit, but we'll take it out on Saturday. It'll be hot and ready. Got a flex play for you, a 3-pick flex play, meaning we do not need all 3 of these squares to hit for us to be able to get something back from our entry. Now, if all 3 do hit, good news, we're able to then, make more from that kind of play. It's not a power play. If you want to do power play, it's either all or nothing. If it hits, you make all of your money back, or you make, multiple amounts of your money back. And if you don't, you get none of it. So this is the way that we like to play. Starting off, Roman Wilson. His receiver his number is half a receiving touchdown. Against Purdue, Roman Wilson, one of the best receivers in the country. He's up there in terms of touchdown leaders in receiving touchdowns. Take Roman Wilson with the more there. We like that a whole lot. Now, when it comes to passing touchdowns, we got Hudson Card sitting there at half a passing touchdown against Michigan. I know Michigan's great, but Hudson Card, the transfer from Texas, he can wheel and deal a little bit. You don't think they find a way to throw 1 touchdown? We'll take the more there on the passing touchdown, so we'll get him just one of those. The more hits, we keep on rolling. Now, the last one I like here, Haynes King and Georgia Tech. They have been a story this entire season. Whether he transferred from Texas A&M and they've had some improbable wins, they're wrecking shop on the ACC with wins over North Carolina, and they just had a great win this past weekend as well. That was North Carolina. They beat this past weekend, and then the win over Miami earlier in the year. Bottom line, Georgia Tech, the number for him is 1.5 passing touchdowns. We'll take the more there. Virginia, they've been iffy this season. We like them to get that. So to recap it for you, half a receiving touchdown for Roman Wilson, we like the more. Half a passing touchdown for Hudson Card, we like the more. 1.5 passing touchdowns for Haynes King, we like the more there. This is a flex play, so we hit 2 out of 3, we make some money. Redeem code JD if you are a first-time user, 100% deposit match up to $100, utilizing that through the Prize Picks. Through the Prize Picks app is how I like to play. You play however you would like to play. So, another thing I gotta make sure you know, I'll plug it one more time before we get out of here. Prize Picks has really appreciated what y'all have done for this show, so we're doing a giveaway. We have a 5-pick flex play to win $1,000. Now, what you have to do is there's a code in this live show or in this video, if you're watching it in a one-off style, in the description, going to be to a Google form. Submit your Prize Picks email that's tied to your Prize Picks account. And if you're selected, you can then put together your 5-pick flex play. And if it hits, you can win $1,000. Okay, so make sure you get that in there. We appreciate Prize Picks for making that a reality. We appreciate y'all for generating this much attention so we can do things like this. So again, get those in at this link. We appreciate y'all. We're gonna have a real good time. Fade or follow on those Prize Picks. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.